Okay, so got some notes written here. I was going to title this The Simple Truth of a Ketogenic Diet, or How to Not Make Keto Such a Headache, or How to Not Make Keto Even Worse than Most Eating Disorders, or How to Not Make Keto More Complicated Than Having Diabetes, or How to Not Make Keto So Confusing that nobody can navigate the territory and figure out how to do it. A ketogenic diet is not complicated. A ketogenic diet is a diet that gets you into ketosis. Ketosis is 0.5 and up on those blood ketone meters, the blood glucometer with the ketone strip. 0.5 and up is ketosis, right? You don't have to be 2.0, 3.0, 3.5. 0.5 and up is ketosis according to all the scientific literature out there. All right? So, here are things you can do to save time, energy, sanity when you're doing a ketogenic diet, right? This will save you a lot of time. First of all, you don't need, if you're doing a ketogenic diet for fat loss, and let me reiterate that, this whole video applies to people doing keto for fat loss, not a medical ketogenic diet. If you're doing a medical ketogenic diet, if you got epilepsy, you're doing it for cancer or something like that, if you're doing a medical keto diet, then of course you're going to monitor your blood ketones and your blood glucose vigilantly. But if you're doing it for fat loss, you're the average individual doing keto, right? 90% of the people doing keto are doing it for fat loss. Or they're just trying to hone in their brain. They want a way of eating and a way of living that promotes health, vitality, steady energy production throughout the day, and mental clarity. They're not doing it because they need to do it to maintain a very narrow bandwidth of brain chemistry so they don't get seizures. Those individuals need to monitor their blood ketones and their blood glucose. Mostly their ketones. All right, so save you time, save you energy, save you so much money, right? How many billions of dollars are being made off of the keto fad right now by these pharmaceutical companies manufacturing these stupid blood ketone strips that people are throwing money at, right? You're doing a medical diet, of course it's relevant. And if you just really like to quantify things and it's interesting to you, and you're not doing it because you just want something to obsess over, right? You're not just looking for some eating disorder thing that you can put all your madness into, at like a release valve to release all that internal pressure you have, right? Hopefully you're not doing that. It's the wrong reason to do any diet. But a lot of people like to do diets for that reason, right? Okay, so you don't have to monitor your blood glucose all day either if you're not a diabetic. Right? If you're not a diabetic, what does it matter if your blood glucose goes up 10 points after a meal? That is normal. It's called glucagon. Glucagon is released not just through the beta cells in the pancreas, but also it's activated through beta cells in the stomach and in the intestines. Glucagon raises blood glucose after a meal. Then insulin is there to shuttle that in to the cells. Proper functioning bodies release glucagon and insulin. So this beautiful concert, this beautiful balance that's found within this organism that finds this delicate balance within the fluctuations of the environment that it's in, right? Light, dark fluctuations, seasonal fluctuations. Just like plants, these bodies fluctuate according to light cycles around. So, if you're not diabetic, you don't need to be constantly measuring your blood glucose. Congratulations. Hopefully you didn't waste a bunch of time, energy, money, and sanity on that. All right, here we go. Next thing you don't need to do is unnecessarily restrict your food choices, right? Just because some people are allergic to dairy, just because some people have sensitivities to lectins, just because some people have issues with their gut that makes them sensitive to certain foods, doesn't mean that everybody needs to avoid these foods. Doesn't mean that everybody needs to be afraid of these foods, right? Just because some guru says and declares by royal decree that this food, that food ain't keto, and the list of foods goes on with these gurus, right? I mean, people get into keto, people get into these diets, and they just channel all sorts of obsessive madness into it. And a lot of these people can speak very convincingly. A lot of these people are highly attractive in their physical vessels. And people like to listen. Unfortunately, I don't agree with everything that everybody says out there. It's not a personal thing. It just means I don't agree, right? So do your own research. Look into this. Don't just take what I'm saying as gospel, right? I'm not the guru out here telling you I know how to do it. This is my way or the highway. There's one way to do it. There's 1,000 different ways to do a ketogenic diet, right? I'm just trying to give you the basics. Across the board, this usually applies to people who are doing keto for fat loss. So don't unnecessarily restrict your food choices in accordance to someone else's neurosis. Big one right there, right? Another thing, when you're doing a ketogenic diet, don't think that eating more fat will make you burn more body fat. Yes, eating more fat can make you burn more fat that you ate, right? Higher blood ketones also don't mean more fat loss. It's another thing. So they've done studies with ketogenic diets for fat loss. In these subjects, I think it was like a 6-month study. I could be wrong there. Ooh, it's the internet. Not allowed to be wrong, right? People are wrong all the time. It's okay. Anyways, in this study they did, in the beginning, the test subjects who were doing a ketogenic diet for body fat had ketone levels of about 1.1. Fat loss continued, and then 5 or 6 months later, I think, their blood ketone levels had dropped to about 0.5, 0.6 on average, but body fat loss continued, right? There seems to be less ketones present after the adaptation phase. Your body gets flooded with ketones during adaptation. You're pissing them out all over the place because your body doesn't know what to do with them, right? Your brain's not used to using it. The mitochondria generation that needs to happen to burn those ketones, not burn them, but to use them for energy, has to take place, and this takes time. And when this happens, it seems that people's blood ketones go down after that deep adaptation, right? At first, you're flooded with them. There's excess, but then you use them efficiently. They're not just floating around in your blood all the time, right? So it's like if you take this more ketones, more energy, more good thing, which is wrong, which has never been demonstrated. More ketones doesn't mean more fat loss. If you take that as gospel, like more energy source in the blood is good, then why with glucose is it the complete opposite? Might not be the best argument, but I hear whatever. All right, so eating insane amounts of fat is not going to make you lose body fat. You still need to be in an energy deficit. And the cool thing about keto is it makes it really easy to do that. Once you get adapted to keto, and I just like to be quiet and hear the sounds. I'm sick of my own voice. I like the bugs and the birds better. So keto allows you to eat less and be satisfied. It makes people naturally want to eat less. You're just not so hungry. And that's great. If you're trying to lose body fat, it'll help you restrict your calories. But eating more fat doesn't make you lose more body fat. Eating more fat doesn't make you lose more body fat. Simple energy balance stuff still applies. All right. So another thing, another pitfall you really want to avoid is don't let irrelevant metrics cloud your judgment of your progress, right? So people starting a ketogenic diet for fat loss get caught up in all sorts of nonsense, like being obsessed with their blood ketone levels, eating exogenous ketones, thinking that eating way more fat's going to make you burn more body fat, thinking that any bite of protein you take is going to turn into glucose magically through gluconeogenesis, thinking that gluconeogenesis is bad, right? Gluconeogenesis is required for ketosis. It's a good thing. We need to be able to make glucose from other substrates, right? We can make glucose from both the glycerol backbone of fatty acids. After you break down fatty acids, you could turn the glycerol that's left into glucose, or you can turn amino acids, but only some amino acids can be converted into glucose. So gluconeogenesis is there to keep that narrow bandwidth of blood sugar that we require for life to feed parts of the brain that need glucose. Gluconeogenesis is there to maintain that balance. And it's very important, especially on a ketogenic diet. And it's not driven by the intake of protein. Eating more protein doesn't make more gluconeogenesis, according to all the research that I've seen and all the studies that are out there. This could be changed, right? I mean, My opinion could be changed if I see evidence, but there's no evidence. Of course, blood glucose rises after every solid meal and after any meal containing protein due to the beta cells in the stomach and the pancreas and in the intestines releasing glucagon, which is natural and required. And then after the glucagon raises your blood sugar, insulin goes there and quenches it and throws it into the cells, pushes it into where it needs to go. So glucagon and insulin do this delicate, beautiful dance. And it's required, and it's natural, and it's good, and it's nothing to be feared. All right? So, don't misidentify natural processes like gluconeogenesis, like physiological insulin resistance, where your muscle tissues don't uptake glucose. They become physiologically insulin resistant because they have fatty acids as their fuel source, right? So in the absence of insulin, hormone-sensitive lipase rises. Sorry, this thing's shaking. It's attached to a tree, and it moves. Now it's still. All right, so hormone-sensitive lipase goes up when insulin is down. I'm trying to keep this simple. Hormone-sensitive lipase helps you break down fatty acids into non-fatty tissues into non-esterified fatty acids. Those then can be used for energy at the cellular level. So your muscles don't use ketones that efficiently. Especially after a keto adaptation, they're using fatty acids. The presence of those fatty acids, when they break down, they're used for fuel, that creates insulin resistance because you don't need two sources of fuel being shuttled in, right? You save the glucose for the brain. This is natural. This is normal. This is nothing that can be fixed if you just eat more fat. This is a normal thing that the body goes through. One high-fat meal can induce insulin resistance, physiological insulin resistance. One high-fat meal can do that because you don't need two fuel substrates getting pumped in there. So don't confuse these physiological processes and turn them into this negative deity almost, gluconeogenesis. Oh, physiological insulin resistance. It's like people take these big words and they try to sprinkle them over their audience and mystify them with it. You can do some a few days of research can get you a massive amount of knowledge about basic metabolism, basic human metabolism. Do some research, right? Look into the mechanisms behind gluconeogenesis. Look into the diabetes research on gluconeogenesis. Very relevant, very interesting, right? And there needs to be more research done. So my opinion could change according to new data. That's how life works. That's how the human mind works. It's always finding new ways to rearrange things, new ways to see things. So a ketogenic diet can be an amazing way to rearrange your relationship with your diet, with your health, right? Treating your body better, honoring your vessel, giving it good, nutrient-dense whole foods, eating a diet that's based on proteins, fats, and vegetables. That's what keto is, right? If you restrict carbohydrates, you get into ketosis. If you starve yourself, you also get into ketosis, but that's not a sustainable way to do it. Right? Carbohydrate restriction, as long as you're not eating insane amounts of protein, will result in ketosis. Now, a well-balanced ketogenic diet, a well-formulated ketogenic diet will get you enough protein, will get you enough micronutrients from vegetables like you see here, leafy green vegetables that grow above the ground, kale, spinach, stuff like that, fiber, micronutrients. A ketogenic diet can be a powerful way to rearrange your relationship with your diet, with your body, with yourself, with how you generate energy, right? But don't get into keto and turn it into an eating disorder. Don't get into keto and turn it into this obsessive thing that, this impossible task, like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill and it just rolling back down on top of him over and over again, right? If you're looking for fat loss, that's your metric, right? If you've got clear head throughout the day, if you've got steady, stable energy, if you're not going up and down all the time, if you're feeling better, if you're losing body fat, if you're making progress, don't waste your time, energy, money, and sanity obsessing over metrics that are irrelevant to you, right? If you're a non-diabetic, why are you checking your blood glucose all day? If you're, right? All right. Anyways, a ketogenic diet can be a powerful way to rearrange your relationship with your diet, with your body, with your life. So if you're looking for a fat loss diet, Keto can be very, very effective. It's not the only way to go about it. There's 100 different ways you can do a ketogenic diet. But not everybody needs to do a highly restrictive, orthorexic, obsessive level diet and call it keto, right? You can enjoy your diet. You can enjoy your lifestyle. You can make nutrient-dense whole foods based on proteins, fats, vegetables. A diet that's nutrient-dense and rich, including organ meats, right? Including fish, seafood, delicious fatty cuts of meat, veggies, quality fats, right? Doesn't have to be about fear this food, fear that food, one extra bite of protein is going to kill you, this or that, turns a chocolate cake in your body, all this nonsense. Keep it simple, keep it fun, and enjoy it. If you're going to stick with it long term, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to learn also how to prepare foods, right? That's one of the major hurdles for a lot of people. A lot of people starting keto, starting any diet or lifestyle is based around whole foods nutrition, not the store Whole Foods, it just got bought by Amazon. But whole unrefined foods, you need to learn how to prepare keto foods, right? So if you want to check out the website, if you like the content here, check out my wife's cookbook, the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, a training manual for low carbohydrate, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. It's all based on whole foods ingredients, all based on stuff that you can readily find no matter where you're at. We're not using a bunch of crazy ingredients. There's no artificial sweeteners, no junk food in here. It's all nutrient-dense whole foods. And we call it a training manual, not just a cookbook, right? It's not a list of recipes. We call it a training manual because that's what it is. We intended to train you how to master your keto kitchen, right? How to make nutrient-dense, ketogenic foods that'll nourish you and be fat loss friendly. So all the recipes have got macros. All the macros are fat loss friendly. We're not trying to tell you eat 200 grams of fat every meal, something insane like that. You don't have the mainline fat if you're trying to burn body fat. So all the recipes are fat loss friendly, and it's available exclusively at primaledgehealth.com. I'm not here to confuse you. I'm not here to confound you. I'm not here to confuse you into a corner so you feel like you have to use my services or come to me as some guru, right? I'm just here to transmit information. If you enjoy the content, if you want to support what we're doing here, you can check out the website and check out the cookbook. I guarantee you'll love it. And if you want coaching, you can hit us up at the coaching section at primaledgehealth.com. So keep it simple. A ketogenic diet can be a powerful tool for fat loss. Don't turn it into a flippin' eating disorder.